Hi guys, a very warm welcome, and in this video I would be covering the concept of Route 53, and after completing this module you should be able to host domains using Route 53. You should be able to know how the Route 53 works, what are the different Route 53 policies that you can select. All these things you would be learning in this module. So first of all, we need to understand what exactly the Route 53 is all about. Route 53 is primarily used as a DNS mapping service. Even from the Route 53 you can purchase some domains also. Now you must be wondering why it is named as Route 53 only, why not Route 63, 73 likewise. So Route 53 name suggests that it's a DNS service as the DNS port is 53. And that could be the reason that Amazon thought of adding this name to this service, which is Route 53. So what exactly the DNS is used for? DNS stands for Domain Name System, and it is primarily used to translate host name into IP address and vice versa. So DNS is used for managing public name of the website and other internet domains. For example, let's say if a client or we guys on our system type www.example.com, this request would go to the DNS server, and from that DNS server it will be resolved to an IP address, and a web page would be delivered on the client system with the help of the IP address. So what the DNS is doing, DNS is converting the domain name into DNS is resolving the domain name to an IP address. So we require Route 53 so that we can map our external domains with our applications that are running on our, let's say, on our instances or on our AWS resources. Till now, we know how to create an EC2 instance, and we also know how to host an application, a simple application on the EC2 instance. But how do we access that application for testing purpose? We either copy the public IP of that instance or the public DNS of the instance on the browser. But if we have to publish that website or an application over the internet, then we have to map it with the real-time domain or the company's domain. And how this can be done with the help of an AWS? With the help of the Route 53 only. Alright. So why do we need Route 53? To host any website, we need a domain name and domain name system to be accessed by any user. The IP address for your local DNS will be searched at your internet service provider. If the website is not listed in the local DNS, it will search on other DNS until it finds the match. And to reduce the hop, Route 53 was introduced. So here you can see this is a client system, and if anyone tries www.example.com, so here you can see the domain would be routed to the DNS server, and from wherever you have purchased the domain, that server would get a request, and that DNS server, based on the name server record sets that will be updated, would send a request to the Route 53. Route 53 is a service on the AWS. It gets a request from the DNS server where the domain is purchased from, and then the Route 53 forwards that request to an IP address where the server and the application, the web application or a website is running. Then it resolves it and sends that page to the DNS server, and the DNS server forwards that page to the client system, and on the client system or on our systems we are able to open up the web page. So any website that is hosted on the AWS will get a DNS or the domain name resolved by the Route 53, which will be converted to an IP address where the actual server or the web application or the website is running. So if you have purchased the external domains also, let's say if you have purchased a domain from GoDaddy or Web Hosting Up, they are going to be acting as a DNS server, and there you have to point the domain to the name servers of the Route 53. So what we need to do, we need to generate the name servers in the Route 53. Alright. So in the lab activity, I'll show you how the name servers are generated and how they are updated in the place from where you have purchased the domain. So the Route 53, this is a symbol representation of a Route 53. AWS named them as Route 53 as all the requests are handled through port 53. It is a reliable and the cost-effective way to route end users to internet applications. Connect user request to infrastructure running in EC2, ELB or S3. So it is not necessary that the Route 53 request has to be sent to a server or an instance where that website or an application is running. It could be sent to S3 endpoint also, because you can run a static website also on the S3. You can forward it to the load balancer also. Even you can forward it to the CloudFront domains as well, even to the Lambda as well. Even from the Route 53, you can send the request on the servers which are running outside AWS. Let's say on your on-prem servers also you can send that request. So various routing policies of Route 53. We know that from the DNS server, which is managed by the internet service provider, the request is sent to the Route 53 on the AWS. Now, how the AWS is going to forward that request to the IP addresses of an instance, or let's say to a load balancer or to an S3 buckets. And let's say if you're having multiple instances where your web applications are running, or they might be in different regions also where your applications are running. So you have various routing policies that you can select from the Route 53, and they are going to forward your request based on that routing policy. Let's say there is one routing policy that is called as a simple routing policy. And in the simple routing policy, what happens is directly the request from the Route 53 is sent to the server or an IP address. It is a single point of contact, or it is targeted to a single point of contact only. Then there is weighted routing policy, where you can distribute your traffic to various different servers running in different regions. Then you have a geolocation policies also. Redundancy, for redundancy you can use it. You have multi-value answer. So in detail, if you want to understand about the routing policies, please have a look at this link, which is Route 53 latest developer guide routing policy.html. So let me open up this link and explain about various different routing policies that the AWS offers. So selecting a routing policy, these are the routing policies that you can select. Simple routing policy, as I mentioned, the request from the Route 53 will be sent to a single server. All the traffic will be sent to a single server only. Failover routing policy, it is used when you want to configure active passive failover. So all the requests would be sent to the active server, but if the active fails, then it would be forwarded to the passive server. Geolocation routing policy. In this case, when you want to route traffic based on the location of your users, you can use geolocation routing to create records in a private hosted zone. So what exactly the hosted zones are, that I'll explain in the Route 53 labs. Geo proximity routing policy. Used when you want to route traffic based on the location of your resources and optionally shift traffic from resource in one location to resource in another location. So geo proximity and geolocation routing policies are based on the location of the user only. But geo proximity gives you more accurate transfer or routing of your traffic. Latency routing policy. It is used when you have resources in multiple AWS regions and you want to route traffic to a region that provides the best latency. So any region that is offering the lowest latency irrespective of the location from where the traffic got originated, that is what the latency routing policy is. So it could be a possibility, for example, let's say a user from Ohio is trying to access a website. So it is not necessary that his request or the user's request would be sent to a server running on the Ohio region. It could be sent to North Virginia also, because there could be a possibility that at that time the North Virginia region is giving low latency. So that is what the latency routing policy is all about. Then we have an IP based routing policy. It is used when you want to route traffic based on the location of your user and have the IP address that the traffic originates from. So you have the IP address from where actually the traffic got originated. You get the details of the users also. And the multi-value answer routing policy. This is one of the best routing policy that you can select. If you do not find that which routing policy you should be selecting, whether you should be selecting a simple routing policy or a failover routing policy, then the multi-value answer routing policy is the best one. So it is used when you want Route 53 to respond to DNS queries with up to 8 healthy records selected at random. So multi-value answer routing policy is going to compare all the resources where your web applications are running in different regions probably, and it is going to route the traffic to the most healthier one. So let's say there are 4 servers running in different regions, and on all the servers your website is running. Now which server should get a traffic? So in the case of a multi-value answer, it is going to compare all the 4 servers where your website or an application is running, and then it is going to compare that out of all the 4, which is the most healthier one, and that is going to get the traffic. So that is what the multi-value answer routing policy is used. And the final one is the weighted routing policy, and it is used to route traffic to multiple resources in proportions that you specify. So you can use weighted routing to create records in a private hosted zone. So weighted routing policy is just like a load balancer. But since you can use the load balancer only in the availability zones of a region, when you work on the load balancer, you can distribute the load among multiple different availability zones of a single region. It is not cross-regional. So in case if you want to do a load balancing for cross-regional resources, then you can always opt for the weighted routing policy. But you should know that how the weight has to be defined. You can also put like something like 60% traffic should be routed to one region and 40% traffic should be routed to another region. Likewise, you can do the distribution of weight. And for further details, I would recommend to read this documentation. You can read this document fully and understand about the policies. So in the next video, I am going to point a subdomain to EC2 box in Route 53. So on the EC2 instance, we'll be hosting one web application, a website, and I have some domains in the GoDaddy. So I'll show you that what all things that you need to, or what all updates you need to do on the GoDaddy from where the domain is purchased, and how the working of Route 53 happens in the demo.